Okay, so I'm live now, or I'm live with myself on the recording. Welcome to the webinar, the Become That Woman webinar. And I'm glad that you can join me here. I'm really excited to share with you the 3 powerful steps for unshakable self-confidence. And just for a moment, actually, if I can just quickly say hi to everybody so you can actually see that I'm here. Yeah, it's great that I'm able to do this webinar as well. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and finally I've got everything together. There was little issues last week, and I've taken the method of actually doing a recording for you while I actually work out what it is I did wrong. So with working out how to do the recording and having this available for you, that means that you can actually access it any other time. Unfortunately, it means that we can't live chat, but in the future, once I've got my brain around the technology, we'll be able to go forward and have live chats. Okay, so let's just get started as well. So if I take you back to the slides and just really tell you what this webinar is about today. So I've called it Become That Woman, and in it we're going to be learning, as I said, 3 powerful steps for unshakable self-confidence. And just before we get going, just a couple of things I want to say. If you're able to, if you can turn off your phone and just stay with me for the next 40-15 minutes or so, and it means that you'll be able to really focus on what's going to be shared. So as well, you may want to take some notes as well. So I'm always a note taker, and I find that even though I'm listening and taking things on board, just actually making that action of pen to paper actually solidifies things just that little bit more, and also you've got something to return to at a later date. So talking about what I'm going to be doing for you today on this webinar, we're going to be looking at 3 powerful steps for unshakable self-confidence. And also at the end of it, we're going to be able to, I'll be able to show you a way that you'll be able to learn from me in the future and actually take what we've done here and actually go further into the work. But before we start, if I just give you some background about myself, my name's Carol May Whittick, and I am a singer-songwriter as well as a writer who's actually coming together. And at the moment, I'm working on my first book, which is really exciting as well. And it's all to do with all the points that we're doing on this Become That Woman slides, Become That Woman webinar. It's all about that. And the reason I've got to this point, and the reason that I'm talking about things like this, is because of where I've come from and where what I'm actually coming up with and what's helped me. Because even though I would get on stage and I would perform and sing and really enjoy it, and still do to this day, there was always part of me that had a real issue with confidence. And I know for a fact that my confidence issues over the years have really held me back. And the only person that's ever held me back from anything that I've wanted to do is myself and the way that I felt about myself going out into the world. And I could see the patterns of myself getting really close to an opportunity or something that would just take me a little bit further, and I would just manage to self-sabotage it. And I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with sabotage. And over time, I just got really frustrated with myself and the fact that I would always manage to kind of turn things around and also out of my favor. So I wanted to start to look at how certain people just had exuded confidence. And it was really strange as well. If anyone actually knows me, I'm very tall. So it's always assumed that being a tall person that you're also going to have loads of confidence, but sometimes it's not the case. Confidence comes in whatever package. You know, you can have the smallest person who has the most confidence and the person who's the tallest who actually doesn't really feel that strong here, but that strong in their confidence about themselves. And that was me for a very long time. And I could see how that pattern was actually repeating itself and starting to hold me back over time. So I knew that I had to do something about that. And what I started to do and what I started to think about is, what was it about certain people that they had the confidence to either walk into any room or kind of put themselves in a situation where I'd actually feel physically uncomfortable putting myself in. For some reason, I'd feel that I was in mortal danger. And I just started to take time over the years to actually start to read up on what confidence means and what people who have confidence, what is their mindset, what is it about them that sets them apart from people who really struggle with pushing themselves forward or just being seen in any kind of sphere of life. So the findings, or what I'm talking about in this webinar, are some of the things and some of the tools that I've used over the past few years to actually take me forward. So let's go in the right direction with this. And the reason I called the webinar Become That Woman is because I feel that you'll know that there's always that person, that one person or two or three, but they've always got this kind of persona about them. They've always got a confidence about them. They've always got an air about them that just means that everything just seems to happen for them. And I've always been one of the people who's been around people who just seem to be so completely lucky all the time, with no effort whatsoever. They can walk into a room and speak to anybody. Everything would just seem to fall into their lap, and I just couldn't work out why. What was it about them? They were no nicer or less nicer than I was. They weren't doing anything that was evil. They weren't playing any tricks on anybody, but they just had something about them that made them more attractive, and people kind of warmed to them, and doors would fly open for them, opportunities would just unfold completely, and I would never really work out what it was about them. So I had to really study what it is about that woman, and just thinking about who that woman is, and like I was saying, who exactly is that woman? And so I came up with, she's always a center of attention. So you're going to know that she's the one that, even if she's trying to be under the radar, people will notice her, people will gravitate to her, everyone will want to know what it is she has. And she isn't necessarily doing anything to draw attention to herself, and yet she brings and attracts attention. She always seems to be very comfortable in her skin as well. That's one thing I've always noticed about confident people, is that they are just so in tune with who they are. There's no problem about it. They don't feel that if people are looking at them, they don't feel uncomfortable. Neither do they feel uncomfortable if they're being ignored. They've just got that aura, and they've just got that confidence about them. She always seems to be lucky. Like I said, she had that attraction about herself that meant that it seemed that life was just opening up for her. Doors would open up for her. People would just kind of give and give and give to her all the time. And yet she didn't seem to have any other skills other than this confidence about her. And I wanted to know a little bit more about what it was and why she had that, and I was struggling. And she seems to be enjoying her life, and of course you would be. If everything is coming to you, if everything is flowing in your life, then you're going to be having fun. So what I wanted to know is, what is it that she has? What is it that she has that no one seems to have? What is this elusive thing? And that's what I came up with. She has unshakable self-confidence. So I had to understand, if she has this thing, then what is it and how do I get it? So the first thing that I do is, when I want to look something up, is I just go to the dictionary first. And confidence, and the definition of confidence is the feeling or the belief that one can have faith in or rely on something or someone or something. At trust, belief, faith, credence, conviction. And just looking at even more ways of using that words, she's brimming with confidence, and all these words underneath: self-assurance, self-confidence, self-reliance, belief in oneself, faith in oneself, positiveness, assertiveness, self-possession. And one of the things that seems to be always recurring in that is the word self. So how do I get all of that? That was the thing that I wanted to know. How do I get that? Because without it, I'm seeing my life pass me by. I'm holding myself back. I've got all this negativity in my head. I'm almost frightened to step forward into my own life. And going back to the definitions, I looked and saw that confidence comes from the relationship that you have with yourself. So the secret that that woman knows, she knows that she must pay attention to herself. That's the only way that she's going to cultivate that relationship with herself and then be able to bring herself out into the world, and then people will be then attracted to her. She is in tune with herself 100%. So if that's what she's doing, she's cultivating a relationship with herself, then I had to find out as well, what am I missing? Why am I not looking after myself? I thought I was being kind to myself. I thought I was being having a good enough relationship with myself. And then I started to really look at it, and a lot of things like self-love and self-care started to come up. And I was having to ask myself, how much time was I spending really to get to know and to nurture myself? And to be honest, when I really looked down on it, looked at it, it didn't really seem that I was doing as much as I thought. I thought I was looking after myself and putting me at the center of everything. But then when I really broke it down, that was not necessarily the case. And it's easy to see how you can get taken up by the things in your life. And just by going by these pictures here as well, the average person has got these things to deal with in their life. They have their family, so they need to give their family attention, and that family could also include children, that you have to actually cater to your children. You're going to have a circle of friends and peers that you need to also maintain the relationships with your friends. So if you don't manage to maintain the relationships with your friends, then you're going to lose that. And your friends are really important in your life. It's important that you keep nurturing the relationship with your friends. And as well as family and friends, you're also going to have your work. And your work as well is going to take up a huge amount of your time as well. It's going to take up 8 hours a day. It's going to take up five days a week for the majority of people as well. So that's an enormous amount of their time. It's almost 70 to 80% of their working and their waking time. And then from that, you're still going to have to nurture your family, nurture your friendships, and then also nurture that special relationship that you have as well. So all of these are taking your attention out and away from yourself. And then finally, the other time suck as well is social media and being online, and it's easy to lose time with social media and YouTube videos, or just trying to kind of take your mind off things, and yet you're still not paying attention to yourself. So looking at that time clock, it's like you've got so many hours in the day. People, so many different groups of people require your attention. So when you're thinking, okay, I need to look after myself, how can I do that? There is no time for me. It's not possible if I've got friends, family, I've got work to do. How can I take the time out of the day to actually nurture time for myself and get to know myself, and then build my confidence on top of that? But the thing is, you need to find some time. It's very, it's often said that I'm too busy, I don't have time to do anything like that. But the thing is, you need to be able to find that time for yourself, because if you don't find time for yourself, you're not going to be able to give to anybody. And the first thing that everyone's going to think is, well, if I'm giving all this time to myself, if I'm giving time to myself, then other people are not benefiting from what I can give them. I'm going to feel that I'm being really selfish by not giving time to anybody else. And the thing is, you have to start looking at it as a different way. This is not a selfish act. Looking after yourself is not a selfish act. Because if you really want to be of help to other people, you need to help yourself first. You need to be able to keep nurturing yourself to the point that you're full enough to be able to give to other people. Because if you're giving from an empty vessel, then eventually you're going to be burnt out, you're going to be resentful. And I've seen it. I've come across people who are very, very giving all the time. They're always giving out to other people and not giving anything from themselves. And there comes a point always where they snap in some sort of way. They'll break down, or there'll be an underlying resentment or an air of martyrdom about them. You don't want to feel that about anyone, that you're always having to give out to everyone. You want to be able to do it willingly, and you want to feel that you have the resources in yourself to do so. And just kind of using, if you go onto a plane and they're talking and they're giving you the safety advice, and they're talking about how you would save your life in an emergency, they always say to you that you need to give to yourself first. You need to nurture yourself first. You need to give yourself the oxygen instead of giving it to everybody else, because you won't be able to survive. If you're the strongest person and you can give yourself something first, then you're able to help everybody else. So just starting in now to the tools that we're going to do, and the tools that I want to share with you today is, firstly, I want to give you a dynamic tool that you can use to root you to the center of your confidence. And you can do this anytime and any place, and it doesn't have to take long. And this is something that I have been toying around with for many, many years. I've come in and out of it. I've made it more complicated than it needs to be. And over time, what I've realized is the simpler I make it, the easier it is, and the more that I'm able to feel that I can actually do it on a regular basis and gain from it. And it's no great secret. The tool that I want to introduce to you, and you may be familiar with this yourself, is meditation. And meditation, as I said, I used to do courses, I used to have CDs and everything like that, and I'd kind of do it for loads of times per day, and then there'd be huge amounts of gap, because I'd always make myself try and do like an hour or half an hour, and then over time something would happen, the routine would shift, and then suddenly it would be not very possible for me to keep up with that, and then I fell out of the habit with it. But what I've really noticed about recent times is I've really made a point of making meditation part of my everyday routine. And it doesn't have to be hard at all. In fact, I actually use an app called Headspace, and every morning it's got a notification on it, and I just set it for 10 minutes and it takes me through a very gentle meditation. But even without that, I can simply do a meditation anytime or any place. So even if I'm in a stressful situation, or if I'm in a noisy situation and I just need to kind of close down and just find where I am in the middle of the noise, in the middle of the stress, I can just kind of draw myself within and just take some time. And over time, you'll find that you kind of develop a routine about it, or it just gets easier to get to the point where you're quieter. So I just want to try this for a few moments, and I'd like you to join me on this also. So the first thing that we need to do is, if you can just close your eyes and get comfortable. And once again, please make sure that your phones are off and no one's going to be disturbing you for a few moments. And I'll just guide you personally through just a really, really simple meditation that you can use, or you can just start to use anytime or any place that you want to. So let's get ready to meditate. Okay. So again, if you can just close your eyes. And what you want to do is just relax. So I just want to take some relaxing breaths now. So breathe in. And breathe out again. Again, if you can breathe in and breathe out. And what you want to do is you want to find the rhythm of your breath. You want to slow the rhythm of your breath to a pace that's comfortable for yourself. And as you're doing this, it's very, very common for thoughts to pop up into your head. You might be thinking of things that you haven't done today, or things that you need to do tomorrow, what you're going to eat, what you said to so-and-so, what you didn't say. And that's okay. But what you need to do is, instead of engaging with the thoughts as they pop up, just see them almost as something that's just going to pass you by. Just acknowledge it and let it go. And let's also think about our body and how we feel in our body right now. If we're holding any tension or anything like that in our body. So your feet, you want your feet to just rest heavy onto the ground. And just imagine that you're relaxing all the muscles, all the bones in the feet. Again with the calves as well. Just feel any tension in the legs just falling down into the ground. And your hands should be heavy in your lap now. Just let them relax, let them be heavy. Let your shoulders relax, let them be heavy. Let your eyes be heavy. And also, a lot of the time we'll hold tension in our face. In particular, we'll hold tension in the jaw, in the tongue. We'll be clenching our teeth, we won't even realise. Just allow your tongue to rest heavy in your mouth. And just release any tension that you might feel around the neck and the shoulders, and let them rest back. And now that you're in this really relaxed state, and you're letting the thoughts go past, just think about the person behind, the person who's watching all of those thoughts. Who's that person who's watching all of those thoughts go by? And once again, just let them pass. If there's any external noise in your home or wherever you are listening to me right now, let that noise be there. Let that noise be in the background to you. Don't get drawn into it. Just let it be where it is. And be the person who's actually aware of the noise or aware of the thoughts. But you're not drawn into them. Just let them pass. And just be aware of being aware of everything, and feel into that space and see what that feels like for you. And we'll stay there for a little while longer. Now, if you can just take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Again, take a deep breath in, take a slow breath out, and start to now just move your hands and your feet, maybe roll your shoulders, and open your eyes when you feel ready. Okay, so we're back now. So I'm interested to know how that felt for you. If you're thinking about, is that something that you've done? Have you ever felt that kind of feeling before? It may feel, if it's the first time or one of the first times that you've ever done this, that there's so much rushing around in your head, and that's true. There is so much rushing around in all of our heads all the time. Even for people who meditate on a regular basis are aware that there's so many thoughts and there's so many sounds and external noises that can distract us. But the thing to do is actually just allow them to move around and be aware of just watching them from almost from a vantage point, instead of actually being involved in everything that's happening. Now, the effects of this exercise, and if this is something that you're able to do over time, you'll find it actually gets stronger the more that you can do it. And what I really like about it is it allows me to get centered. It allows me to find what I like to call my core center, and it allows me to find a real stillness. And even if it's only for 5 minutes a day, even if you're doing it in the middle of a tube, which I've done very often sometimes, it allows you to find that even in the middle of noise and mess and mayhem, you can actually find a stillness at any point. And the aim of this, and the benefits that I've found from myself from doing this on a regular basis now, is that you get familiar with who you are in the middle of all the distractions in life. You start to realize that you aren't that, the drama that happened at work. You aren't the argument that you had with that person. You aren't involved in that. They're things that happen around you, but you are in the middle of all of these things. And this is really pivotal, I feel, in terms of how it is that you get to know yourself, because you need to be able to kind of be away from everything to actually have a conversation or a communion with yourself as well. And this is also going to help you to get really clear on the next two vital questions, the next two vital points of this webinar. So these are two simple questions that every confident woman knows the answer to. And like I said, when I was doing my research or trying to really work on how I was going to move forward in terms of building my confidence and actually breaking down what it meant to be confident, I found that these were like the fundamentals that every confident woman, confident person had about them. They were really secure in these 2 points. So the first one is the question of who am I? And confident people know who they are. There's no question about who they are to themselves. So the question then is for you to sit down and ask yourself, do you know who you are? And when I started to ask myself that question, I realised that actually I probably didn't. I hadn't really spent any time working in any way like this. I hadn't really, over time, been consistently doing meditation or actually sitting down and finding out who I was. I wasn't really sure. I knew things that I wanted to do, but then just the details of who I was were not necessarily clear. And I found that I was being other things to other people. And these are some other questions that you can actually work on as well. It's like, who are you being that's not for your highest good? I found that I was being dutiful to one person and dutiful to another person. And yet sometimes in being dutiful to other people, not that I didn't want to be good and be liked by them in particular, the things that I was having to do with compromising myself on such a level that I was losing who I was. And the thing is, if you're always hoping to please people and you're hoping to please multiple people, then you never really get to understand who you are, because different people will require different things of you at different times. And of course, you're going to play different roles in your life, but you need to have that core center of knowing who you are. Even if you have to be this role or that role, there has to be some sort of core center within it of who you are, so that you then don't start changing who you are to fit the whims and the requirements of other people, because what you'll find is they will quite easily change your mind. So you will never really know what somebody wants from you if you're only ever doing what they want you to do, because if they change again or they criticize you based on something that they'd asked you to do before, then it becomes very confusing. You never really know who you are. You never feel secure, because you're always kind of bringing their idea of who you are to them. So it's, who are you hoping to please? Who are you really? Have you ever found out what it is, who you are, in the middle of all the things that you have to be for other people? And if you've ever had a problem with really being yourself, it's like, why is it an issue for you to be yourself? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of upsetting people? Are you afraid that you'll lose favor with people? And the truth of the matter is, once you actually start to find out who you are and what you like, it's probably going to happen that a lot of people are going to get upset about who you are being, simply because their idea of who you are doesn't resonate with who they want you to be, and or who you want to be for yourself. So be prepared for resistance and some upset, and sometimes certain people may have to come out of your life for a period of time, or maybe for a longer period of time, when you really start to assert who you are about things. But it is the most empowering place that you can live from. And also, another question as well, moving on to the second point, is, what do you want in life? What do you want as a person? Once you know who you are, once you're getting to know who you are, what is it that you actually want? What is it that's going to be making you happy? And again, confident people know what they want. And it can be something as simple as what they want to eat, or what they want to wear, or where they want to go. They're not going to get swayed by opinion, unless, of course, they want to kind of open things up. But more times than not, they truly know what they want, and then they're unlikely to keep compromising about it. Because if you're always giving in and allowing other people to make decisions for you, you're never going to get sure about what you want, and then also you're never going to build the confidence in the things that you want for yourself as well. You won't be honoring yourself in that way. And ask yourself these things as well. Do you know what you want in all areas of your life, in your work relationships, in your love relationships, in your friendships, in your general ideas? How do you feel about certain things? And as I said before, when you start to make changes sometimes for yourself, when you're really looking at what you want for yourself, how other people can react to that. And sometimes they really take offense. And to give you an example of that from my own life, is when I actually made the decision that I was going to have a plant-based diet. And this was about 3, maybe 4 years ago. And prior to that, I'd been doing a lot of research, and I knew that I wanted to really look into my health as well, because there were concerns of, just in my family, there's a lot of illnesses that I was reading up after a certain time were not hereditary, as I'd believed up to a certain point. I kind of thought that certain things were going to be my fate, and it was, enjoy my life while it could be, because after a certain time I was going to be inflicted by certain things, and even things like diabetes in particular, which is one that's very prevalent in my family. And it just looked so painful as well. And I'm not one for pain as well. I will put up with things being uncomfortable for a moment, but then it just looked that living a life like that, and then that was my legacy. It's like that was what I was moving forward to, and it was nothing that I was it wasn't making me enjoying the growing up and getting older and moving on in my life at all, if that's what was written on the cards for me. So over time, I actually started to find out more about plant-based diets and how nutrition in particular played a part in health. And it was a revelation to me at first anyway. So I always thought that these things were written in stone, written in my genes, they were going to happen. And now I understood that I had a choice about this. And the choice, all that I needed to do to actually make the choice of having health or longer health was to change the way that I ate. And I did an enormous amount of research, and I transitioned very, very slowly into it. And then I had to make the announcement because I felt it was just going to be easier that people knew that this was the way that I wanted to live my life going forwards. And also it would make family meal times or friend meal times a lot simpler if I just kind of made the announcement that I was actually going to go vegan, plant-based. And what was really interesting is how other people started to react to it. It almost was as if it was a personal slight against themselves that I was changing my diet. And a lot of the time, if I mentioned that I was changing my diet, then almost immediately people would start to justify why they ate meat or why they did this. And I was never saying it out of any kind of judgment to anybody at all. In fact, very few people actually asked me why I was doing it. It was always about the change that I was making and the shift that I started to make for myself, because I decided what I wanted. I wanted to have good health in the future. I didn't want to have to then spend the last maybe 20 or 30 years of my life on medication. It didn't look like it was actually helping anything. So that was something that I saw that I could make a difference about. And I made that. I thought, I want good health and this is what I have to do. So I started to know that. And tradition and all of these things are very easy, but sometimes traditions that we all go along with don't always work out for us in the long term, and we need to make choices as to why we're following those traditions. Are we following those traditions because everybody else around us follows those traditions? It's the way that we've always done things. And are those traditions working for you? Is it something that you really want? Is that really going to work in your life? And what are you tolerating? If you're asking yourself that question, what are the things in my life that I know that I'm starting to feel a little bit uneasy about, that I realize that I've been tolerating all my life, and now it's getting to the point where I can really feel that I can't continue to go that way, and you're feeling that almost that resistance against it and that need to pull away, but you're still feeling very insecure about making that step outside as well. Even the way that I view religion as well, and I've not necessarily had the big deep conversations about the way that my thought pattern has changed around religion and veered more into kind of spirituality and spiritual practices, but I know that the day that that comes, that's going to bring up a lot of things for people. But I've made my decision because it started to make sense for me as well. I kind of asked the question, does this make sense in my life, what I've believed up until this point? And the answer was no. It was a simple no, and I just knew that I couldn't go forward. So these were the changes that I started to make for myself. And looking at the questions, I was like, how have you allowed others' opinions to direct your life? And I realised I'd done it umpteen times. In order to maintain friendships or quote unquote relationships, I'd kept my mouth shut about things, fundamental, very basic things that I'd disagreed with, just in order to maintain that friendship or have that person in my life, because outside of that, it felt scary. I wasn't confident enough to step away from that, even though I disagreed with a lot of the way they behaved or things that they said, especially when they were starting to talk on my behalf. And it was, this is what Carol thinks, or this is what we thought. And inside I'd be like, but that's not why, it's not true. And I still didn't have the voice or the confidence in myself to actually say, that's not what I think. And I think over time, because I just kind of sat and started to meditate and build up the ideas and actually really get to know what it is I thought about certain things, instead of just saying a flat no when someone said, well, Carol thinks this, I'd be like, well, this is actually what I think. And a lot of the time it will be like, well, how long have you thought that? And then it's for you to decide whether you say how long you've been in conflict with somebody's ideas, really. And it doesn't mean that you have anything against them as the person, it's just you have different ideas, you want different things, and sometimes people will be understanding enough for you to still be around each other and have a relationship, thinking, having very different thoughts, and also coming into your own as a person. For other times, it may be that will change the dynamic of the relationship, because sometimes it's nice for someone to have someone who doesn't say much but is company to them, and you now have to really honour yourself by actually thinking about what it is that you really want, and how you've held yourself back, and also why you've held yourself back as well. And also, if I look at the fourth point, who have you given permission and power to choose for you in your lifetime? And sometimes it could be somebody who has just got a bigger voice than you, and maybe they don't have any better ideas than you do, but they're just able to assert themselves in a way that makes it seem that they know more than you do, or they're just more confident, they're more pushy in their ideas, whether they're right or wrong. And you have to ask yourself why you've done this. And from my point of view, it was just because I hadn't kind of solidified who I was as a person. And when I started to really look and work on my core, it was like, well, how is it possible that anybody else could know better than me what is best for me? I just hadn't really come to an idea of what it was for that. But as soon as I started to form those ideas and also started to bring those out into the world, and it's not easy. The first time you say something different and you start to show changes, it is nerve-wracking, but over time you become more and more confident. And yes, you will face resistance, but you will be surprised at how many people start actually being more drawn to you, because it's that confidence that will start to bring other people out of their shells and into themselves, and they will start to respect you more. It may not be the people that you have to necessarily break away from ideas wise or physically for a moment, but you will actually be giving other people a permission to be themselves. And that's how you'd be able to then help your family, help your friends, be more effective at work and in your relationship as well. If you're being yourself, that's more attractive than someone that's holding back all the time. So again, if we just look at this avatar, and I chose this because I just liked the stance of it. It's not necessarily any one person. It's just represented to me the stance of a really confident woman. She's just upright and she looks very bold. And the question to ask yourself is, if you were going to be yourself, who would you be? Who would you be if you took that time every day, if you could, to do those 5 minutes? And what I find a very useful practice is to start journaling as well. Just get a little book, get a little notebook, and just start to commit to yourself of, if you can have 5 minutes and you can try and find the little bit of peace that is in between all those thoughts and those external noises, who would you be? If you just ask yourself that question, who am I? You will find eventually that something will start to come up for you as well. It's something that you don't need to force. It's something that you just need to allow, and you will be surprised at when you start asking yourself that question from a point of real stillness, from a point of being really centered, that you start to get clearer and clearer on who you are. And another thing I'd like to add to this as well is, as you start to form these changes in yourself, as you start to get to know yourself in this way, and you realize that you may have let yourself down in the past, is to don't be so hard on yourself. Allow yourself to have made those choices before, because you did that because you were feeling that you were keeping yourself safe for a period of time, and that may have been months, it may have been years even, but it served you up until that point, until it didn't. And for you to be on a webinar like this, I know that there's a part of you that really wants to start to make some changes within yourself, start to really shape the real confidence about you, so that you can actually start to be bolder in the world and actually start to get more out of life because you have that confidence in yourself. So take time, just make notes on it, just allow it to come up, and really forgive yourself for who you were in the past. It served you, and now you're moving forward and out of that as well. So I want to say thank you for staying with me today. And what I want to offer you as well, if you would like to work further with me, is we get in contact with each other, and I'll give you a free confidence clarity call as well. So what we'll do is just talk a little bit about some of the points that I raised today, and then also giving you some kind of nuggets that I've found, and talking to you about how we could actually work together and move forward on this as well. So all you'd need to do is, you can see my email at the bottom there. It's info@carolmaywhittock.com, and if you just put confidence clarity call in the subject matter, and I'll be able, in the subject heading, and I'll be able to get back to you as well as soon as possible. So just before we go as well, I just want to say a quick bye in person. Are we here? Great as well, so that you can look in the whites of my eyes. But thank you so much for coming and joining me on this webinar. What I'll do is I'll put the slide up again so that you can just jot that down. And also, if you just want to, feel free to email me and just let me know what came up for you during the course of this webinar as well. So thank you for being on this webinar with me today. And I hope that we can get in contact with each other again soon. So let me just put that slide up for you again. So take care, guys. Thank you very much.